Hey guys, my name is Nora Franch, and welcome to the podcast Grateful Blessed Mess, daily reflections for those in the 12 steps. I am a fellow 12-stepper and certified mindset coach, and I am here to introduce you to the value of mindset coaching in your 12-step journey. So if you feel like you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding with your abstinence, mindset coaching may help you as it did me, and you can find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. These episodes are meant to invite you in to consider the truths of 12-step wisdom and to join in the very real struggle of living them in action. I hope that it feels almost like a mini meeting, and I invite you to contribute your own share on the Grateful Blessedness Facebook group to keep the discussion going. My comments are based on my own experience, so feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. But my hope is to encourage you on your own daily 12-step journey. As they say, you cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, we are reading from A Day at a Time. It's the writing for February 2nd. Looking back, I realized just how much of my life has been spent in dwelling upon the faults of others. It provided much self-satisfaction, to be sure, but I see now just how subtle and actually perverse the process became. After all was said and done, the net effect of dwelling on the so-called faults of others was self-granted permission to remain comfortably unaware of my own defects. Do I still point my finger at others and thus self-deceptively overlook my own shortcomings? Today I pray, may I see that my preoccupation with the faults of others is really a smokescreen to keep me from taking a hard look at my own, as well as a way to bolster my own failing ego. May I check out the whys of my blaming. Today I will remember, blame saying is game playing. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And I know at the risk of oversharing here, I also share for the purpose of drawing out a concrete way that people can see this stuff coming to life, because I think when it's kept in generalizations, it's very easy to either say, oh, I don't do that, or it's very hard to see where you are doing that. And so here we go. So when I started getting counseled, I was told to start reading books about verbal abuse so that I could learn how to identify and label what I was experiencing in my own life. And what was embarrassing, to say the least, was how I started to see things that I too was doing that could qualify as verbal abuse. Blaming, yelling at times, basically not giving the other person the benefit of the doubt. You've purposely not speaking to someone, icing them out. That is verbal abuse or emotional abuse or both. I started learning a lot of things because I was experiencing, I was at the mercy of a lot of verbal and emotional abuse. But what I couldn't help but see in what I was reading, like jumping off the page, was also what I was doing, my part. And I think this is common in abusive situations where maybe someone initiates it and we feel so helpless and out of control and overwhelmed and confused that we just fire back with whatever we learned as a kid, or we're just throwing back in their face what they're doing at us. We're like, see, how do you feel? How does that feel? And it just didn't seem right to me. And the strategies that I was being taught to implement, they just didn't sit right with me. They didn't feel ethical to me, even though what I was experiencing was wrong. I didn't feel right about, if someone gives you an ultimatum, that's abusive. You're not giving someone their free will. But then I was told to say, if you don't do this, if you don't change, I'm going to leave. And not to say, now let me be very extremely clear here. I'm talking about my situation only. Every situation is different. Some places it wouldn't be right for you to stay in a certain abusive situation. But what I just kept going back to, it kept hitting me over the head, was that I wasn't acting in a way that I could feel okay with, that like sat with my moral barometer sensor, my conscience. It just didn't feel right. And so I kept digging and digging and digging. And this is one reason why coaching was so interesting and intriguing to me, because my coach posited the idea that that no one can actually, now this is going to sound like really extreme, but she was just playing devil's advocate here, that no one can actually be the victim of verbal and emotional abuse because we feel what we feel because of the thought that we think about what they're doing. So if someone tells you you're no good and you should never been born, that in and of itself doesn't have the power to make you feel anything. It is what you choose, how you choose to interpret that and take that in and process it, that causes the emotional pain of that statement. So just go with me here. I'm not saying that in your situation you're not being maltreated, but there is this piece here that I decided to wrestle with, that I continue to wrestle with and struggle with. And it is that, okay, part of the reason why what they said is so painful is because part of me thinks that it's true. So there was this other part that I concluded on my own, and it is that, okay, I decided that perhaps an extremely self-possessed person is not able to be verbally or emotionally abused because they're able to reject whatever lies are coming their way and just see that is false, and it bounces off of them instead of piercing them, right? Okay, so that's what I want to be, but I can also tell you that that's not where I'm at. And so I came to this conclusion that to the degree that we are healed from all of our identity wounds of who we are and our inherent goodness, to the degree that we are not healed is the degree to which we can become a victim of verbal and emotional abuse. So I'm not saying that you are not being hurt and you're not suffering from what's happening, but I think that, and I'm not saying it's your fault, but there's something we can do. You and I can do this. And it's that we can heal. We can start our own healing to protect ourselves. We can start to go down that path of knowing who we are and knowing our own goodness. And we can heal from all these old wounds that set in these beliefs that I'm not good. I'm always doing it wrong. It's my fault. You must be right. I messed up again. I'm no good. I'm worthless. Why am I even here? Why do I bother? And on and on. We can start to identify memories and heal these wounds. And my hypothesis is that once we have got, the further we go down that road, the more we become our own person who cannot be affected by the slings and verbal arrows that are cast at us. So just sit with that. I'm still working through it myself. This is by no means some scientifically researched thing. This is my own experience. So again, if it doesn't sit right with you, fine. But if it does, reach out to me, and I think we could work together. And I think we could start to identify old wounds and patterns of belief about yourself, ways of thinking that are causing you pain, that are keeping you in the past, that are keeping you wounded, so that you're able to be hurt more when those things come your way. All right. If none of that lands with you, just skip this episode. Know that I love you. My heart is for you. That I'm on the journey just like you. With that, I pass. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel that mindset coaching could help you on your 12-step journey, please feel free to reach out and find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. But more than that, it's important to me to give listeners like yourself a place where you do not need to feel alone on your 12-step journey. And for that reason, I've created a Facebook group. It's called Grateful Blessed Mess. And it's a place where listeners can go to add their own commentary on the share for the day, in addition to my own, and for us just to have a conversation or start a back and forth where people can find support in their 12-step journey. This is not a replacement for 12-step work. This is something outside of the 12 steps. It is simply something that has a heart for the 12 steps and those who are in it. And so, welcome. If you're here, chances are you may also be a bit of a mess. And I hope that you can learn to find some gratitude in the blessings that have come from your messes.